an original.
From Story Studio Network.
Welcome to The Fatigue Fixer, the podcast where we get real about why you're so tired and what you can do about it. Every 2 weeks, we'll gather here for honest, heart-to-heart conversations about reclaiming your energy, your patience, and feeling truly at home in your body. I'm Dr. Sarah Vadeboncoeur, a naturopathic doctor, Menopause Society certified practitioner, Enneagram 3 entrepreneur with enough business ideas to last me 10 lifetimes, and a hockey and baseball mom. Over the past 15 years, I've helped thousands of women just like you cut through the confusion and finally feel like themselves again. And now, I want to hear from you too. Use the link in the show notes below to leave me a voicemail, to share your story, give feedback on an episode, ask a question, or tell me what's been exhausting you. And your voice might even make it onto the show. Together, we'll get to the root of what's really draining your energy and give you the tools, clarity, and encouragement you need to fix your fatigue. I hope you enjoy today's episode. I was listening to a podcast earlier this week, and before the conversation even started, I was informed that water is not good enough anymore. Water on its own is not hydrating. We need minerals now in our water for it to be hydrating. Never mind that most of us don't only consume water. Most of us eat food, which is a great source of minerals to help us with hydration. And of course, the product that they were advertising to help make your water better, more hydrating and high in minerals, is literally a salt packet. And most women, if you live in Canada and the US, we don't need more salt. In fact, nearly half of Canadian women consume too much salt to begin with. But when you listen to ads like that are very convincing on podcasts that claim to be about health and wellness, it's very easy to get sucked in and to start to feel like, oh my gosh, my water is not good enough. I need to buy this product now to make my water more hydrating and minerals. I need minerals. And that is just one tiny, tiny example of all the different areas where we are being told that we need to optimize our health, our wellness, our skincare, our sleep. I've shared this before. I went on a deep sleep optimization routine probably 3-4 years ago. It worsened my sleep. It made me obsessed. I would wake up every morning, check my sleep metrics, see that I supposedly didn't sleep well, start my day feeling exhausted and terrible, and I became so rigid in my sleep routine, and it did not actually help me sleep better. And we're going to talk about why this is an exhausting thing to do today, to constantly be trying to optimize all these different parts of our lives. But the other thing that you need to be aware of that's happening a lot in the wellness space right now and in the health space is that we are medicalizing things that are completely normal. We are taking normal human experiences and we are talking about them as if they are a disease, a problem, something to be fixed, something to be optimized, as if we are robots that are going to be perfectly evenly keeled all the time. No, we're human beings, and by nature, our bodies are going to change. Our sleep is going to change. All kinds of things are going to change. And it doesn't necessarily mean that there is anything wrong or that anything needs to be fixed. I'll give you a couple examples. When a woman notices a change in her cycle, if her period starts showing up a day or two early, we worry about that. We shouldn't worry about that. That's completely within a realm of normal. If you spot for a day or two before your period, doesn't mean you have a hormone imbalance. That could be something that is perfectly normal. If you feel bloated after you eat, again, assuming you're not feeling super distended and in pain, you just put a plate worth of food in your belly. Your belly is going to be a little bit bigger because there's food in there now. And then the other one that's taken hold in the last couple of years is like this whole blood sugar optimization, as if our blood sugar is not supposed to go up after we eat. It is supposed to go up after we eat. You want that. That is how your body gets energy and fuel. So all these different areas where we are tinkering and obsessing and trying to optimize, it's exhausting. It's exhausting trying to keep up with all these different trends and areas that we're supposed to optimize. It's also exhausting trying to constantly improve yourself and fix your supposed flaws, which we will get into more. I'll give an example. I was just telling my producer before we hit record. All weekend, I was stressing about this specific episode about self-optimization. And what you'll hear about is how so much of what drives this is feeling that we're not good enough. And I spent my weekend being worried that my episode about not being good enough was not good enough. This is so deeply pervasive for so many of us. And this energy and time and money that we are spending trying to optimize our health is, in my opinion, not a great use of our time and energy. It's also, for some people, creating hyper awareness and hyper fixation on our bodies. We are noticing every small little thing that, again, often is perfectly normal. But because we're paying so close attention, we assume that these changes, again, are problematic when often they are not. And for some people, this creates massive health anxiety. I have lots of patients who worsen their health with the amount of worry and time they spend Googling and doing deep dives on things that are perfectly benign, like spotting for a day before your period or feeling a bit bloated after you eat. Where this has shown up in my life is definitely around productivity. Name a self-help book. I have probably read it, I have studied it, I have tried it, I have implemented it. I have bought every planner. I have spent hundreds of dollars on planners and coaches and programs, all in this drive to be more productive, to get more things done, to be more efficient, to produce more. And what I find fascinating about the self-help industry is that 80% of the people who consume self-help are women. But guess who's writing most of the self-help? Men. They're writing 2/3 of the self-help. Now, there's nothing inherently wrong with that. But when I just think about the mental load that most women carry, the self-help advice that we are getting might not be helpful. It often makes us feel even worse, like we're not doing enough. I remember reading the 5 a.m. Club a few years ago and trying it. And all it did was create this frenetic energy in my mornings, feeling like if I didn't follow this 3-step plan, that my day was going to be shot and I'm a lazy person if I want to sleep in. So we are often taking advice from people who have very different lives than us, who have very different support systems, who may be in a completely different stage of life. And what you will quickly notice if you start to pay attention to most of the self-help, most of the self-optimization, the wellness space, the common thread that underlies all of this is that you are doing something wrong, there is something wrong with you, or you are not good enough if you're doing it this way and not the right way. And if you fix this problem, your life will magically be better. What I have come to realize after many, many years of trial and error, and again, for me, this shows up for sure in health, it showed up, but the productivity for me is where it shows up most obviously. And I can tell you over the last, I don't know how many years, the number of times I have changed and tinkered with my work schedule in an attempt to try to be more productive. Like if I take Fridays off, I'll get all this work done. No, maybe Mondays. Maybe if I work these hours or these days, I'll crack some magical code and I will be forever productive and get my whole to-do list done. And finally, after sadly many, many years of trial and error and quote unquote failure, I finally realized this. I don't have a productivity problem. I have an expectations problem. I'm going to repeat that. I do not have a productivity problem. I have an expectations problem. I am hyper productive. If you looked at my schedule, and probably just if you follow me, I get all kinds of things done. I work, I parent, I host a podcast, I personal train, I do therapy. I'm doing a lot. Like probably all of you listening to this, you already are hyper productive. You do not have a productivity problem. You have an expectations problem. And the expectation is that your health is going to be spectacular. Your body is going to not change as you get older. Your forehead sure isn't going to wrinkle. Everything is going to stay wonderful and perfect. And if you just follow the right steps and buy the right products and follow the right people, you will live happily ever after, and you will not age a day. And whatever your thing is, where you are feeling right now that you're not good enough, that you need to improve and optimize, I want to say that this same thing is true for you. You probably don't have an actual problem in that area. You probably have an expectations problem. And the reason that most of us have problems in terms of expectations is that there are lots of industries, including self-help and wellness and coaching and all of these things, that often are there to create and seed insecurity. Because when we feel insecure and when we feel not good enough and like something needs to be fixed, we're really easy to sell things to. And you better believe that we buy all kinds of crap trying to improve and self-optimize. And one of the things I find fascinating, and especially because I'm a naturopathic doctor, a lot of the people I interact with, whether that's right or wrong, have a lot of doubt, or they don't trust big pharma. They're like, big pharma's in it for the money. Yeah, they are, because we live in a capitalist society. But here's a little nugget for you. Big pharma is valued at $1.6 trillion. It's a lot of money. Do you know how much the wellness industry is estimated to bring in? Not estimated, this is how much they're making. Over $6 trillion last year. And that is estimated to go up to $9 trillion by 2028. So if we have convinced ourselves that the people who are trying to help us optimize are doing it for the goodness, like out of the goodness of their heart, they're also doing it for the money. And we need to learn to be very aware of that and be very discerning, again, about what are the things we actually need and what are the things, the conditions and the trends that are literally made up, designed to make you feel bad about yourself so that we can sell you something. So we are going to talk about how this shows up in our lives, why it's so tiring, but more importantly, what the heck we can do about it. So we are going to hear from our listener, Rebecca, about how this quest for self-optimization has shown up for her in her life.
Hi, Dr. Sarah. It's Rebecca. Thank you for your Instagram post today asking about this whole self-optimization era that we're in. I think it's all just another way to help tell us that we're not good enough. And I find it very frustrating and an energy drain to hear about self-optimization techniques, whether they be work-related, productivity-related, or health-related. My question for you is, on my journey that I've been going on through perimenopause, I've gained 30 pounds. And although all my blood work has come back good and everything looks like I'm healthy, I'm still beating myself up over this weight gain. So my question for you is, how do we drive for self-acceptance, even if we are doing, the things that are within Health Canada guidelines and guidelines in general for activity and generally eating well and so on, just accepting the fact that our bodies have changed and not beat ourselves up because of the societal expectations that we've been taught our whole life. So looking for some insight on that and some good ideas for how to counter the negative talk. Thanks so much.
Rebecca, thank you for your question, because I have no doubt that a lot of people listening can relate to what you just shared. I know I can relate to what you just shared. I'm going to share, created a 5-step plan. Of course I have. I'm going to share some different ideas of how we can manage some of this, of what Rebecca has been describing. So, I want to start by saying that I can relate to you, Rebecca. I opened up Fitbit in the past year and realized I have also gained 30 pounds over the last several years, and hadn't really realized it was that much until I saw that number. And I think what can happen when we experience weight gain is our automatic reaction is, I got to lose weight. I got to get back down. I got to get back to my normal weight. And before you jump into that thinking, before you devise any kind of plan of action, I'm going to encourage you to do something else first. And the first thing that I want you to do, again, whether your place where you're trying to optimize is your weight, maybe it's your sleep, maybe it's work, maybe it's parenting, whatever your thing is, I want you to envision yourself getting that thing that you want, whether that's the 30-pound weight loss, the better sleep, the promotion, the relationship. I want you to take some time to connect with, what is it that I think that thing is going to bring me? Because the reason that most of us want to optimize something is that we believe that it is going to help us feel something different. If I lose weight, if I get the job, if I become more productive, what is it that I'm actually going to feel? And I want you to take some time, even if you pause this right now and take some time to reflect. I want you to write down a few words that describe feelings. Because what you actually want, the reason you want the weight loss is because you want to feel something different. The reason I want the productivity is because I want to feel something different. And the first thing that I want you to do is connect to whatever those feelings are, because that's what you want. That's what you actually want. And you are using some other thing like weight loss to try to help yourself get there. Now, here's the thing, especially if we're talking about weight. If you've ever tried to lose weight, it's not easy. It's rarely quick. And so whatever those core feelings are that you have identified, I want you to ask yourself, what can I do right now to feel more of that? So I'll give you my 3 words that I usually come up with when I do this. One of them is calm, one of them is confident, and the other one is energized. So yes, getting a whole bunch of things checked off my to-do list can make me feel those things, although I would argue it doesn't feel calming while I'm doing it. What else can I do to feel calm, confident, and energized that has nothing to do with my to-do list? Because there's lots of things I can do to feel that way that don't involve a to-do list. I'll give another example. One of the things that, because I asked my patients this, what do you think is going to feel different if we lose the weight? And a lot of women say the word comfortable. I just want to feel more comfortable. I want to feel more comfortable in my body. I want to feel more comfortable in your clothes. And my first piece of advice, which was literally the first episode that we did of this podcast, wear clothing that fits you. I know that sounds simple and obvious, but when you are wearing clothing that does not fit your current body, you're automatically going to be uncomfortable because things are tight. They're digging into you. They're reminding you that your body has changed. And you're going to spend your day walking around being uncomfortable. So if one of the words that came up for you is comfortable, put clothes on that feel comfortable. And now I'm going to hear what everybody, but it's so expensive and I love my clothing. I'm sure you do. But I was thinking about this earlier. If your child outgrows their clothes, you probably don't tell them we don't have money to buy you new pants. You probably whip out your credit card and buy your kid a new pair of pants. Why don't we do that for ourselves? Why do we have an expectation that our adult clothing has to last for 25 years if our bodies change? We're spending all kinds of money on self-optimization, but we can't buy a new pair of clothes, like a new pair of pants that fits us. I don't believe that to be true. And I know that life is expensive. I get that, but we're spending money in all kinds of other places. I think we can buy ourselves clothing that fits us. So step number 1, figure out through whatever you're trying to optimize, again, if it's the weight, how do you actually want to feel, number 1, because that's what you actually desire. And what can you do right now to help you feel more of that? We're not waiting for the 30 pounds to come off. We're starting to feel that way now. The second thing that Rebecca asked, which was so good, how do we strive for self-acceptance? How do we accept when these things are happening that feel bad? And the first thing I would say is that we need to accept that bodies change. That's just what they do. It's not because you're doing anything wrong. Even if you quote unquote do all the right things, your body will change because that is what aging bodies do. And the fact that we were brainwashed into thinking anything else is the problem. The problem is not that our body is changing. Again, Rebecca doesn't have a body changing problem. She has an expectations problem. And again, Rebecca, I don't know if you actually have this, but most of us, the problem is not that our body is changed. That's going to happen to all of us if we are fortunate enough to grow old. And that doesn't mean it's always going to change in the same way, but it is going to change. The problem is we were fed the unrealistic expectations that our weight was going to stay the same, our body, our skin, our face, our brain. Of course, they're not going to stay the same. So part of self-acceptance is accepting that bodies change. And part of what we need to rewire, which is not easy, but must happen, is that not all weight gain is automatically bad, and not all weight loss is good and should be celebrated. But we attach so much meaning to body changes in our society, right? Weight gain, automatically bad. I can tell you right now, at my heaviest weight, 30 pounds heavier than I was 7 years ago, I am stronger than I've ever been. I am more active than I've ever been. I am more confident than I've ever been. And I have more energy than I've ever been. I could look at that extra 30 pounds and be like, holy shit, Sarah, what happened? Right? We got to get rid of that. We got to go back. I can't go back, and neither can you. What I can do and what I am doing is working on accepting that this is my 43-year-old body and there's nothing wrong with her. Even though society would have me to say, ooh, you gained 30 pounds, that's bad. Even though most women describe significant and unexpected weight gain, especially through perimenopause and menopause, which is what Rebecca is sharing with us. So most women are gaining weight through this transition. Some of that has to do with aging. A lot of it has to do with this is a time where we don't feel very good. And when we don't feel very good, it impacts our behaviors. And our behaviors over time impact our weight gain. Okay, so step number 2, we need to accept that body changes are completely normal and not all weight gain is bad. Now the next step, well, what if the weight gain is bad? Sometimes it is. Sometimes the weight gain is having a negative impact. Now, I would argue a lot of the time it's having a negative mental impact because we don't like it, but that doesn't mean always that it's having a negative health impact. And this is a lot of the work that I'm doing right now. I'm in a 1-year training fellowship in obesity medicine. And part of why I joined that is I want to get better at helping figure out as a clinician, but also help guide my patients to figure out, like, is this weight something we need to be concerned about? Or is this weight having no negative impact on your health and we need to learn to accept it? So if you are trying to figure out, and Rebecca said this, like, my lab work is good. If all of your lab work is good, then right now that weight does not appear to be causing problems. Some of the tools or some of the metrics we can use to get a sense of, like, is this weight that I need to be concerned about, right? Is this weight having a negative medical impact on my health? We're not going to use a scale and we're not going to use BMI to do that, because those are poor estimators of your own personal health. They are not very helpful on an individual level. What is far more helpful and accurate would be your waist circumference. So measuring around your waist, if you are over 35 inches, that could be increasing your health risks. You can also do a waist to hip ratio, and I'll put in the show notes some links on how to do this. You measure your waist and your hips, and your waist ideally should be less than 80% of the size of your hips. So you want your waist to be smaller. And you can also do a waist to height ratio. If you have access to something that can measure your body composition that's accurate, like an InBody, they have those now in a lot of gyms and clinics, or a DEXA scan, body composition can be helpful. Again, is this weight muscle? Is it fat? If it's fat, where is it? Is it causing problems? The scale, a like basic scale, will not tell you that, and your BMI also on its own will probably not tell you that. We need to be able to discern if the weight that we have gained is causing any health harms, or is it not only, but is it mostly causing mental harm? Because I would argue that the weight that all of us need to lose, independently of whether we actually have physical weight we need to lose, the weight most of us need to lose is the heaviness of diet culture. It's the heaviness of our obsession with our bodies and our weights. It's the heaviness of being told since we were little girls that the most important thing about us was our body, and that the most important thing about our body was how it looks. That's the weight most of us need to lose. But some of us, yes, could benefit from losing some weight. And if you are not sure about whether or not your weight is causing problems, if you're wondering what tests you need to do or what assessments you need to do, that's something that I work with my patients on all the time. So we're going to take a quick 30-second break for you to hear how you can work with me if this is something that you need a little bit of extra support around right now. And then we'll be right back to carry on. Are you tired of being told everything is normal, even though you're exhausted and don't feel like yourself? You deserve better care than that. In my one-on-one practice, I help women just like you do a deep dive to figure out what's really draining your energy. Together, we'll get answers and create a clear, personalized plan to help you start feeling like yourself again. If you live in Ontario or the Outaouais region and you're ready for the next step, visit drsarahv.ca to learn more and book your appointment today. Because being tired all the time isn't normal, and you don't have to keep pushing through it. Okay, so now that we have decided or determined whether or not the weight that we've gained or put on is medically unhealthy, the next step is whether or not you have physical weight to lose. You need to be aware of something that's going to make this journey more difficult, which is something called internalized weight stigma. And what that is the process by which people accept and internalize negative societal stereotypes about weight, and they apply it to themselves. We live in a deeply, deeply weight-biased and fat-phobic society. And what's fascinating is that people internalize this independently of their body size. People who live in big bodies and people who live in small bodies have this internalized weight stigma where they believe negative things about themselves based on society's beliefs about people who are overweight and obese. And a lot of times this is very subconscious. We're not walking around realizing this, but it is there. And here's the thing, it is not helping you. When we try to change something, starting from a place of, again, I'm not good enough, something's wrong with me, I'm broken, I'm doing it wrong. When we start from that place, we are less likely to change something. So when we look at weight specifically, this internalized weight stigma doesn't help people lose weight or prevent them from gaining weight. What it does is it contributes to overeating. It increases anxiety and depression, and it actually makes people have a harder time losing weight. So said a little bit differently, the more you hate your body and your weight, the more likely you are to put on weight and keep it on. You're going to have a harder time losing that weight. And even if your goal right now is not weight loss, if you think that feeling not good enough and using shame as a motivator is going to help you be more productive or optimize your sleep or go to bed on time, you're incorrect. We know that shame is a terrible motivator. And if you want to learn more about what to use instead, if you're trying to create habit change, go back to episode 26. It's the one where you build habits that last, where I talk with habit change expert Katie Falloon-Drew. She does a wonderful job of talking more about this. So go back to that episode if you're wondering what to do instead. So we need to be aware that the more negative we are about whatever that thing is that we are trying to optimize, the less likely we are to be able to change that. What I want you to focus on are the things that are within your control. The first thing I'll say, which I don't think we talk about enough, is that our body size is estimated to be between 40 to 70% heritable, meaning your genetics play a big role in the size of your body. Now, that doesn't mean that it's 100% genetics. It's not. But it means that there are some parts of your weight and your body that are in your control, and there are other parts that are not. And when we focus on the singular outcome, the weight, the number, we are focused on the thing that's not really 100% in our control. Rebecca said this beautifully a few moments ago in her message. She's like, I'm eating well, I'm exercising. Those are the things that I want us to focus on. Let's focus on the habits. The habits are the thing that are in our control. And the other thing I'm going to invite you to do, Rebecca, and anyone else who can relate to what she's sharing, is that I want us to detach our habits and weight loss as the primary motivator or outcome that we're doing it for. So for example, if you're exercising, I want you to detach weight loss as the main reason that you're trying to do that and find some other tangible benefits why you are doing that. Because a lot of times, if the only thing that we're looking for is not happening, we lose motivation and we quit and we don't do it. Even though we know there's lots of benefits to exercise, obviously. So I want you to work on, and again, I know I'm saying this as if it's easy. It's not. This is the work of our lives, sadly. And again, this is why I want to talk about this. The amount of energy that we are expending trying to change and fix and optimize, it is enormous. And so even if you can release a few minutes a day where you are not focused on and obsessed on your weight or your productivity or your body or whatever your thing is, you're going to release energy for things that are far more interesting. And I would argue things that are going to impact your health far more than trying to tinker and optimize your sleep score when you wake up in the morning. I also want to remind you that your body is an instrument, not an ornament. Most of us have spent our lives looking at our bodies and worried about what it looks like, and not so much on all the incredible things that it does for us. And I've said this before. If most people understood the level of intelligence, and I get emotional saying it every time, the level of intelligence in your body, if you understood all of the incredible things that your body does for you every day, I think we would have a very different relationship. We would honor and respect and treat our body with like a deep reverence and a deep love because it is doing incredible things. But the second it doesn't look the way that we think it should or that society told us it should, we turn on it. You're not good enough. You're fat. You're broken. My hormones are a hot mess. Whatever that looks like, we turn on ourselves so quickly. But the healthiest people that I see, the healthiest people I know, are not the people who are tracking everything and focusing on optimizing the last 5%. It's the people who are like, I'm going to do the basics. I'm going to drink the regular water, not the salt-filled expensive water. I'm going to move my body every day. I'm going to get enough sleep. I'm going to eat a wide variety of foods in a way that feels satisfying and nourishing. I'm going to make time for my friends. I'm going to take the time to go for my walk, for my mental health and all the other good things. They're not the ones buying all the fancy supplements and the gadgets. They're the ones doing the basic, boring things over and over again and spending the rest of their time and energy enjoying and living life. Not listening to podcast number 872 about how to optimize your hormones. Last but not least, one of the things that I've been working on very much in this space, and this is actually my word of the year for 2025, is being content. Being content is all about not continuously hoping and striving and thinking that something better is magically coming around the corner. It is acknowledging the hard work that you've already done, being grateful, and enjoying the moment. So many of us are literally missing out on our lives because we are not here. We are physically here going through the motions. We are mentally constantly looking at, what can I do better? What's next? What's around the corner? What can I optimize? What can I add? And it is draining. And again, I would argue it's not making us healthier. It's making us anxious and neurotic. It's draining our bank accounts. It's not necessary. As we wrap up today's episode, I want to share with you something that I decided a few years ago, and I'm kind of like unclear on the timeline at this point, but as someone who, I don't want to say I live in a big body because that's not actually true. Like I can shop wherever I want. I'm a size 12. Like I can fit in a seat. Like I'm not big in that sense. But I was always bigger than my friends. I was always the biggest or one of the biggest in my friend group. And I spent a lot of my life trying to shrink myself and worried about my body and doing the diets and the workouts and all the things. And a few years ago, I had this like moment of insight where I decided, or I kind of like realized I had a decision to make. I could spend the rest of my life trying to supposedly fix my broken body. It's not broken, but it felt like it because it didn't appear the way I was told it was supposed to. I could spend the rest of my life trying to shrink myself, or I could take that same amount of time and energy and use it to accept myself, to learn to love my body, and to deploy that energy elsewhere. And for the most part, that is what I've been doing. Now, I'm not saying that that's easy. Again, I also have gained 30 pounds. I have, on a daily, weekly basis, I have to talk to myself when I notice that my body looks different, when I see something that makes me feel insecure. But that is also the choice that you face right now. You can continue to spend your precious time and energy trying to fix and improve and optimize whatever that is for you. Or you can realize, like what I said earlier, I bet you don't actually have a problem in that area as much as you think you do. You probably have an expectations problem. And if we let go of that unrealistic expectation and we take again that time and energy and money and put it elsewhere, what could that look like? Because the reality is, I'm willing to bet a lot, there's actually nothing wrong with you. I'm going to repeat that. There is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with your body, even if it's bigger, even if it's not socially acceptable. There's nothing wrong with how much you're getting done in a day. There's nothing wrong in a whole bunch of areas. And if we took that to heart, that we are not broken, we don't need to be fixed, and there's nothing wrong, how would you move through your life differently? How would you spend your time? How would you dress yourself? How would you feed yourself? How would you show up in the world? How would you share your ideas differently? Who would you follow on social media if you weren't trying to figure out how to optimize? I bet you your feed would look very different than it does right now. One of the things I'm working on, and this is an idea that comes from James Clear, who wrote Atomic Habits. What if we worked hard on things that came easily? Instead of trying to fix our supposed flaws and optimize all these areas where we don't feel good, what if you let that go and you poured your energy and your attention into areas and things that you're already good at and you doubled down on those? That is probably going to make your life so much more enjoyable, and the quality of life will probably be a lot better than if we continue to try to fix these little flaws or things that we're not good at. What if we stop trying to do that and we just lean into our natural gifts? So for me, that means no more schedule changes to try to be more productive. No more planners. I've actually banned myself from buying planners. No more schedule optimization. I am accepting my heavier, bigger 43-year-old body, but she's also a heck of a lot stronger. I'm lifting weights and walking because it makes me feel the way that I want to feel, which again is calm, confident, and energized. And I am leaning into my gifts by showing up authentically. So again, yesterday I was feeling like this episode, I need to fix it and tinker. And I finally just let it go and was like, Sarah, you know what to say. Just trust yourself that you're going to show up and be authentic. And whatever comes out is what is supposed to come out. And anything that you forget, maybe it just wasn't meant to be today. And you can pick it up on another episode if it's really that important. So that's what I'm trying to show you today. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be optimized. We just got to show up. We got to do the things we're good at. For me, that's using my voice to reconnect women like you to your truth and to be reminded, even if it's for a split second, that there's nothing wrong with you, nothing you need to fix or optimize. And my wish for you today is that you take some of the energy you've been using to optimize and improve, and you pour it into something that makes you feel whatever it is that you truly desire, and stop waiting for some magical moment when you lose the 30 pounds or you figure out how to be productive. That day may not be coming, and that's okay. But you can feel however you want to feel right now if you stop trying to optimize everything and you accept yourself as you are and you lean into your gifts. And I think that's a beautiful way to live. And I also know that that's what we need right now in the world is we need people who are thoughtful and open-hearted and authentic and caring, which I know all of you are, or you wouldn't be here. We need you leaning into that and sharing that. And we can't do that when we're worried about our sleep scores and our weight. All right, that's our episode for today. I cannot wait to be back here with you all in 2 weeks. Bye, everybody. I know your time is precious, so it means so much to me that you're here. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a woman in your life who could use a little extra energy and encouragement today. It's a small way to show her you care, because we're all in this together. Wondering what the next step is? Find out what's really draining your energy by taking my fatigue fingerprint quiz at fatiguefixer.ca/quiz. You'll discover which of the 5 most common types of fatigue you're dealing with, like frazzled fatigue, where your body's exhausted but your mind won't turn off, or drained fatigue, where no amount of sleep ever feels like enough. Your results will include recommended labs to ask your doctor about, plus my top suggestions for habits and practices that can help you start feeling more rested, calm, and in control. Because here's the thing, being tired all the time isn't normal, and you deserve to feel like yourself again. And hey, if you've got a story to share, a question, or just something on your mind, leave me a voicemail. Your voice might even make it into a future episode. Thanks again for listening, and remember, it's not all in your head. I believe you, and we'll figure this out together. I'll see you right back here in 2 weeks.
This is SSN.
Story Studio Network.